So, hi guys. So, probably about a month ago now, actually, I was taking some photographs of some flowers. You can see a sunflower here and a few daffodils and stuff in the background. And, just messing around. It was with the A1 originally. I swap over to the Rx10 Mark IV on the other part of the video. But I just thought I'd show you the images of this plant alive because after a few days it started to look a bit tired. So I pulled it out of the water, turned it upside down and dried it. So you'll see later on in the images it's actually the dried, shrunken in fact, sunflower. Anyway, these are some of the shots from the A1 using the 135G Master and the 50mm Sigma art lens that I've got as well. Both incredible. Autofocus on the Sigma isn't amazing. G Master, 135G Master is though. But both incredibly sharp. The detail and everything is awesome. And when you can get shots like this very easily, it makes it quite nice. Even did a little bit of a negative conversion there, just for a little bit something a bit different. So yeah, it's just a case of mess around, have a bit of fun. The weather was rubbish outside, so I just went down to the local florist, bought a few flowers, and then started messing around. So it worked quite well. This one here is a sunflower. I've got a sunflower here. You can see there. I've dried it. I turned it upside down and hung it up, and it's all gone crispy and weird, and the colour's still there in the where the petals were. And it kind of looks a bit interesting. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do just a follow up on it. A little bit of video and shooting with a little bit of flash. So I'm going to use the Rx10 Mark IV because people have asked me in the past about using flash with this camera, and it's totally fine to use flash with this camera. And it works really well, but it has one drawback. It can't do fast bursts with flash, sadly. So let me show you, for example. I'm just going to set the shot up. Okay. I'm going to set the shot up. I'm going to have f5.6, 1/25 of a second, ISO 100. I've got the Rotolight EOS, which you can see there, which is in flash mode. So if I push the wireless flash trigger, it will pulse a flash. I'm just running it on 1% as almost like a modelling lamp, so we can kind of see where the light is casting and what we're going to get. So if we shoot one single shot, we're going to get that absolutely fine. And in fact, we can keep pushing as quickly as we can, and it will keep taking pictures. With the Rotolight EOS, there's no lag on recharging the flash because it's obviously LED. But with traditional strobes, there's always going to be a little bit of a delay or a period of time where they can't keep regenerating the battery power to keep bursting. So we've got, with flash on the Rx10, we've got mid burst rate and low. This is mid. We can't do high because that only uses the electronic shutter. But if we do a burst now, that's as fast as it will go. Around about 2 to 3 a second. It will go forever. And the reason being, I think, is because it's a leaf shutter, not a more of a traditional mechanical shutter like we see in our DSLRs and mirrorlesses now. So I think that's one reason. It's probably one of the only other drawbacks that this camera has. But you can still shoot flash. It's no drama whatsoever. It works. The only thing I said is that obviously that's as fast as the burst rate is. So if you're doing something like dance or something like that and you needed flash, where the A7R4, for example, will still do 10 frames per second with flash. The A1, I think, will still do 30 frames per second. I'm not sure, I've never actually tried it, but even with the electronic shutter, I can do flash. This obviously has a little bit of Achilles heel kind of thing, where we can't. do high burst rates. But it's not the end of the world. You know, most of the time studio stuff is generally a bit like this. Anyway, so I'm just going to show you what the camera is seeing in the video. So I've just started to record. I've put it in auto ISO, and that's now at it's in auto ISO. So yeah, I don't actually know what it's at. Don't actually tell me. Yeah, I don't know. It's just flashing auto ISO. I've got it up to 1600 ISO at 1/25th of a second, f5.6, just for video. But if we now shoot, come out of there, we now shoot. Oh, it's ISO 1600. That's what it's at. If we now shoot auto ISO as well, this is where we have to shoot in full manual, because I've just done it with auto ISO. I'm actually going to go back to 100 ISO. I'll take the shot again. It's a much nicer image. You can't really see, unfortunately, at the moment, but I will show you the photos that I've taken. Obviously, real benefit of the RX10 is the fact that we can actually be quite close. Quite close to our subject. Yeah, at 600mm equivalent anyway. So we can actually shoot nice, quite detailed shots. And actually I need to go a little bit closer because I want to get in and down to see the, in fact we're slightly too close. It's 72 centimeters, which is your minimum, which I'm at roughly now. So, unfortunately, my phone is kind of locked at, I can't change the angle. I'm sitting on the hot shoe of the trigger. But I'm still doing 1/125th of a second, f5.6, to get a bit more depth. Because, obviously, we're zoomed in as well. We're going to bring the camera much closer in a minute, and we'll do a wide angle shot as well. I'm just going to take this shot here. And the flash works really well. I'm just shooting JPEG tonight. Just going to show you guys what the JPEGs look like. I mean, JPEGs are fine in good lighting, and you're not really, you can see exactly what you're going to get on screen. I'm using constant lighting. I've set the flash up to work approximately how I want it to look, and I've adjusted things just to suit. So, one of the other benefits of the RX10 is, if I open the lens back up again, back to f4 at the moment, we can actually shoot a native flash sync of 1/1000th of a second. So we can actually have a really, really fast shutter speed using flash. And it works really well. So, really, really quite handy sometimes to get that shutter speed when you want it. So I'm actually going to back out now. I'm going to come in closer. I'll rotate this that way a bit. Bring that around. Unfortunately, the phone's not working on this very well because it's so high up on the thing, but you're going to get the idea. Right, so we're looking at that at the minute, but I'll go a bit closer. So I'm just going to pull the lamp back a bit, and I actually want to bring the camera in looking down onto the flower, kind of something like that, so we can see the head and go from there, really. So I actually lowered the light down, the EOS, to a lower level, so it's kind of blasting a bit of light through, just to mess around. So there you go. So we can see that's a preview, that's the shot, and that's what it looks like. What we're seeing on the screen is a little bit off in colours. So what I might do quickly while we're here, just go into menu, go across and change that back to raw, and then we can see that if there's any difference. There. As you can see, I've actually programmed the AEL button as a manual focus to autofocus toggle. I've used it forever like that. Even back in the Konica Minolta days, they actually had an AF/MF button there. So I've just kind of got used to it, and that's why I program my cameras to. I don't use the AEL button at all, other than that. So let's take a shot, and lovely and sharp, beautiful. I might stop it down a little bit on raw, just see what that looks like. Drop the shutter speed slightly, just see how much depth, extra depth we get. We're wide angle anyway, but I just want to see how sharp that comes out and how detailed that comes. This is not for art or anything like that, it's just messing around, experimenting. I use the Pixel King Pro flash triggers, and that one's covered in dust. It's been sat on the side for ages, and it sits on the back of my Rotolight ALS and plugs in there, so it works really, really well. So really nicely. One thing we can do is obviously move our light back to change the way the light looks. That's the previous shot, and now if we just take another shot, you can see it's slightly darker on the one I've just moved back. So don't forget, it's not just your shutter speed on your camera and the flash light triggering, it's how far away your light is and also how powerful the light is as well. So there's lots of factors involved to mess around with when you're shooting flash. But yeah, I just thought I'd have a look, really have a little play around, and I'm going to take a few more now, but I need to put this camera down, so I'm just going to snap away and see what they turn out like, just mess around, have a little experiment, and see. As you can see, guys, these images are at 100%, so you can get a more of a clearer view of everything. Turned out pretty well, not edited at all, just literally straight out of camera. That's one of the dead leaves there, it's all scrunch up and everything. It looks quite cool. It's just a bit of interest, really. Just having that green screen behind, because it kind of matches with the flowers and the plants and everything like that. And obviously, depending on how I've lit it, you've got a darkness on one side and a dark green on the other. It depends on how it's done. And the wide angle shot, more of a wide angle shot there. He's just messing around, guys, just so you can kind of see, if you are messing around with flash, what you might need to do. It's a case of choosing your ideal shutter speeds and your ISO and your aperture, depending on what you're doing, how close you are, and just experiment. We're so lucky that we can literally change settings, experiment, and see straight away what we've actually captured, that it makes it very easy to learn quite quickly on how to make your photos better. So it is just a case of experimentation, and just mess about. And yeah, obviously there's lots of other YouTube videos out there and tutorials and stuff which really can help you, and every now and again I do watch them just to kind of refresh me, because I don't necessarily use flash that often, especially outside. I quite often use natural light, so yeah, it is quite handy to be able to reference off stuff occasionally, but I think practice is the most important thing. Anyway, don't forget to click the subscribe button, little notification bell as well, and I'll see you soon for some new videos.